Rogie Riverstone put out a shout-out video in which she put out 5 shout-outs, and she kind of challenged us to do the same. So I thought I'd do that. But with all the flagging going on, I'm kind of tired of serious stuff, especially since I'm currently working on some serious stuff that kind of got shoved aside because I wanted to make videos, anti-false flagging videos, or anti-flagging period videos. So I decided to put up 5 fun shout-outs, things I enjoy. The first one here is Grace Foods. Now this is a commercial site. There is a company called Grace Foods. And what they do is they make Jamaican native foods. And this site shows you how to use, native Jamaican foods to make native Jamaican dishes. And it's a lot of fun because there are foods there that, well, I'm completely unfamiliar with. Now, some of these things are kind of hard to get a hold of, but you can find, there are a couple places that do import Jamaican foods. Sometimes you can look in Google and see if there's any place that, sells Jamaican foods in your area. There is a company, I can't remember the name, but if you look in Amazon.com for Grace Foods, you'll find it. But anyway, this is just a lot of fun because these are dishes, in many cases, that I am completely unfamiliar with. But it's a lot of fun. And next is the Vintage Kitchen. And this is run by a woman who is originally from England, but she's been living in Australia for a long time. And when under About Vintage Kitchen, it says, sharing vintage and retro recipes from 1800 to 1979, from the classics to the weird, and occasionally both. And she's not kidding. This is just so much fun. I have always loved old cookbooks and the kinds of dishes that they used to make long ago. And sometimes you think you'd never, ever want to make them. She recently did a video on how to make a goblin sandwich for Halloween, and it's actually very simple. But it's just a fun site. Some of the recipes are just absolutely fantastic. Some of them you just kind of go, you're kidding. As she says, from the classics to weird and occasionally both. She also has a great sense of humor, so I'd like to suggest you check that one out. The next one is a favorite site of mine. It's Kirsten Dirksen, and it's the Fair Companies. And these are a bunch of videos about sustainable and creative living from around the world. And it's things like tiny houses to urban forests, to beekeeping, to goat keeping, and we're talking in the city. Lots of things about tiny houses. If you're interested into the miniature house movement, or you're thinking of converting a bus or a packing crate or something into a home, this is the place to go because they've got a lot of information on it. It's really interesting to see the way people live and the way they may have innovative solutions. Now, I'm going to actually put links to certain favorites of mine. One is called the Skyfarming Prototype 8-Story Climbable Vertical Garden in Barcelona. And in the city of Barcelona, apparently, they don't have a lot of greenery because they just paved over the city. So what they did was, and they also have a lot of blank walls of buildings, so it's where buildings came together. So what they did was they actually built an 8-story high garden. And it kind of makes you think of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon because everything sort of overflows down the side of this building. Or actually, I guess it's like 2 buildings where there's a blank wall. And they even have a telescope across the street where people can look at the building and see all the different birds that are living in there and everything. It's just really cool. And another one is called Fully Customized Modular Solar House, is 3D printed prefab. You kind of have to see this to believe it, but basically they have created a house on a computer, and then it is printed. When it says 3D printed, we're talking about having, what 3D printers are is they actually print parts on a printer that actually creates like plastic or wood or whatever. But this is all done, so you can change your house for the climate you live in or what have you a little bit. This is just really cool, and I forgot to check, but I think this is in Brazil. Now, everything on this site, sometimes the people are speaking different languages, but there's always either an interpreter there to help or, captions. Another one is really cool. Off-grid float cabin, retirement tiny dream home in the British Columbia wilderness. These people are living on a cabin on a lake. And that's about all I need to tell you. It's just really cool to look at. If you're interested in things like this, check out this site. It's a lot of fun. The next one is Big Cat Rescue. And these are videos from Big Cat Rescue in Tampa, Florida, which is a non-profit that houses big and medium-sized felines. And a lot of these animals are rescues because people are so dumb that they think, wow, I'll go get a tiger. I think it'd be cool to have a tiger. The tiger grows up and they can't take care of it, or it's kept in really horrible circumstances. This is really cool, though, and they do a lot of enrichment to the animals. And you'll see this picture here where they're having pumpkins that they destroy. And it's a lot of fun to watch them do things to try to keep the animals interested and to have a good time and what have you. But I love this site, and the animals are just fantastic. The next one is Free Drum Lessons by Jared Falk. Now, I played set drums when I was a kid. As I got older, I tended to play percussion and orchestra. I love playing percussion orchestra because two things. First of all, I adore playing the timpani. The other is, if you're playing like a community orchestra, community college orchestra, sometimes you're the only percussionist there, and it gets really, really creative. Once I was playing, and our conductor looked over me and just started laughing, and everybody turned around and looked at me and laughing, and I'd put the set drum down to play with my foot to use as a bass drum. I had the snare drum in front of me, and I had a cymbal set up in front of me as well, and I had two sticks in each hand because the drumsticks were facing forward and the timpani sticks were facing backwards, so I was holding them both so I could switch them around. And on my right hand, in between my middle knuckles, I was holding the beater to the triangle. On top of that, I had another stick in my mouth when I could switch over really quickly. But it's always really entertaining to try to play like 7 different instruments at once. But now that I'm retired, I bought a new drum set, and I also kind of like totally overdid it. I've also got a whole set of rototoms and some timbales, which I'm not playing like timbales. I'm playing them like hand drums. I've got them set up in this little vertical thing, and I'm playing them by hand like hand drums. But I've forgotten how to do a lot of set drum stuff, and this is a site that teaches you how to play different rhythms and things, and how to work the different drums together for set drums. And a lot of people out there are thinking, well, gee, I'm not interested in playing the drums. Well, yeah, but if you're interested in music or making music, he breaks down what the different rhythms are that are played with the different that are played in basic set drums. So, how does the bass drum do this rhythm? How does the snare drum do this rhythm? And it might be useful to those of you who are into music and who are making music, learn a little bit about, drums and a drum set and how it goes together. And then, well, there's 5. But, oh my goodness, how did that get in there? Gee, where did that come from? Okay, that's my movie channel. Now, my name here is Melagrisfells. Melagrisfells. Melagris is the genus of turkeys. The turkey that we eat, Thanksgiving, what have you, scientific name is Melagris galopavo. I'm a big fan of turkeys. I've had them. I've raised them. They're like feathered dogs. They're smart. They're inquisitive. They follow you around. They sit in your lap and purr. I mean, they're just incredible. Felis is, of course, the genus of cats. Felines, cats. So basically, Melagrisfells means turkey cat. Well, one night I was making a bunch of clone sites, clone channels, to avoid someone else making clone channels of mine. And now it doesn't mean they couldn't, it just means it would be more difficult because I wasn't about to make 100 clone channels, I just made a few. Well, I was tired and I mistyped. I meant to type a small L and a capital I, right? Well, instead I typed 2 small L's. But I laughed. I'd already done it, so I didn't realize it's after I left it. I then looked at it later and realized I left the E out, too. So it's Melagrisfells. 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 Okay, whatever. So I turned it into a movie channel. And what I've been doing is I've been uploading old movies that are in the public domain, because I love old movies. And you can find these. These are all from the Internet Archive, and you can go there and do it yourself. But it's easier here. It's easier for me. It's easier for others. You don't have to bother to look them up. They're right here. And so far, I've concentrated a little bit on stuff for Halloween because it's near Halloween. And I love silent movies, too. So I've put up, so far, The Phantom of the Opera and The Lost World, which are both silent movies from 1925. And I've put up House on the Haunted Hill, which is a 1959 black and white movie starring Vincent Price. And this is like the original, people stay in this house all night and they'll give you $10,000 kind of thing. I also put up The Lady Vanishes, which is a really great early Hitchcock movie. This older woman disappears off a train, and this young woman can't get people to believe that she really disappeared, or, where did she go? And I recently put up last night The Tingler, last night or early this morning, which is, I remember it. I actually haven't rewatched it. I tend to rewatch these before I put it up, but I got The Tingler up, and I was tired and I went to sleep, so I don't remember when I put it up. So I did check to make sure it ran. I ran through it, checked parts. But as a kid, I remember thinking this was one of the scariest movies I saw. And I currently am watching The Moon of the Wolf, which is a 1979 movie. It was a TV movie where, is there a werewolf in the Louisiana bayous? So I will, when I put up, you don't have to subscribe to this. A few people have. But just know it's there, and if you want to watch some old movies, go check there. As I get them put up, I will create playlists as to whether what kind of movie they are, because I'll be putting up some comedies and westerns and things like that as well. So that's there. Speaking of old movies, let's go to my bud here. Goblinxxx and the Midnight Movie Massacre. And Goblin has a whole bunch of playlists, and what you see here is just a tiny amount. And what he does is he keeps track of all these movies on all these different channels, and he keeps, playlists. So, and it's mostly, I would call it horror and beyond, because sometimes what you call horror and fantasy and science fiction, it's a little difficult to quantify, and suspense. The writer Harlan Ellison said we should call it all speculative fiction, and I think he's right. I think that's a better term, speculative fiction, because how do you, how do you describe something like Santa Claus Conquers the Martians? What on earth is that? But anyway, so I'm going to leave you a link to Goblin down below, and if you really like old movies and you like really, it's got really, really good movies on these that he's got listed. He's got some really, really bad movies that he's got listed, but they're all fun. So anyway, that's my shout-outs for today. So I actually did 7, and one of them is me. So anyway, thank you all for watching, and I hope there's something here that someone might like, and maybe later I'll do something a little bit more serious, but this is all fun stuff because I'm in the mood for fun. Thanks for watching. Bye.